to be a Jagadguru. He can actually preach all over the world. So here in this particular purport, Prabhupada actually deals with each and every one of these individual urges. So before getting into these urges, so Prabhupada actually establishes this point of why at all sense control is needed. This is talking about control of these urges. So why at all sense control is needed, and how we can actually do it. So that portion he is discussing. The first two paragraphs of Nectar of Instruction deals with this. So can go forward. So can knowledge and or atonement can save us from suffering? So this is one thing which we are going to see. Second is, if so, can I commit sin and atone for that? And what is real atonement? So these are all the subject matter which are dealt in this first two paragraphs. So we'll go further. So setting the scene. So because Prabhupada starts this purport with the Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry of what is the point of atonement. So now we'll see a little bit of this one. So intelligent inquiry by Parikshit Maharaj. Go further. So the background is that Parikshit Maharaj is quoting that he is telling to Sukadeva Goswami that you have spoken about Nivritti Marga. So Nivritti means what? There are two things are there, Pravriti and Nivritti. What is the meaning of Nivritti? Any idea? Nivritti means? Nivritti.
Correcting it out.
Huh?
Correcting out mistakes.
Okay. Nivritti means cutting down, basically. So, like cutting down renunciation, the path of renunciation or path of progress back to Godhead, right? And Pravriti means to increase more and more material needs, like whatever material desires I have got, so I am trying to satisfy my material needs. So that becomes this one, Pravriti. And Nivritti means cutting down the relationship with this material world and trying to go back to Godhead. So that is called Nivritti. So Sukadeva Goswami had explained this process of Nivritti that you can gradually elevate yourself to a higher planet. So you are there in the Bhuloka, you can go to heavenly planet. And from heavenly planet you can go to even more higher planets. So Janaloka, Tapaloka, like that. So and from there finally you reach to the planet of Lord Brahma. And when you reach to the planet of Lord Brahma, when the devastation happens, when the Brahmaloka also gets destroyed, so at the time you can go back to Godhead with Lord Brahma. So that's a path which he mentions. So then next is Pravriti Marg is based on one's inclinations. So he gets into different kinds of he gets different desires and he satisfies these different desires, and he is just going in that path. So enjoying and suffering various deeds. And in the fifth canto, Sukadeva Goswami also has described about the hellish planets. Those who commit sinful activities, so they suffer in the hellish planets. So now naturally Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee of the Lord, and out of natural compassion he asks, what is the point? Or how these people can be saved from the hellish suffering? So that's the question. The question starts with that. So there he says, kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions. So in which they suffer very terrible pains. The moment he heard about hellish conditions, he is asking about this. So three things he is quoting in 6th canto, beginning of 6th canto, is that Nivritti Marg, gradual elevation you have described, and Pravriti Marg is just following one's inclinations and going forward. So these two things you have explained, and you have also explained about hellish conditions. So now I am feeling how people can escape these hellish conditions, right? So next slide. So Sukadeva Goswami answered that just like an expert physician, he gives medicine for different disease. So in the same way, we should find out different atonements for different sinful activities that we have performed, and accordingly we should counter them. And Parikshit Maharaj is saying, one is forced to commit sin again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. Right? So, I don't want to quote some slokas because I am giving it as homework. So, from Bhagavad Gita also there is one, okay, if you can remember in 2 minutes, like you can try to remember, is there any sloka which supports this particular point from Bhagavad Gita? So he is telling, Parikshit Maharaj is saying, one is forced to commit sin again and again. Even if he is going in Nivritti Marg, even if he is going in the, trying to go in the right path, but he is forced to commit sin again and again. Any sloka you remember? What is that? The wind, it's more powerful than wind. So that it is the previous sloka of the what is that? Kamayesha, Krodayesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. Right? So okay, anyway, like you can also take that as homework and find out that sloka where Arjuna is telling that no, I am forced. Like even a person who is trying to act in a right way, even he is forced to commit sinful activities. So, like Parikshit Maharaj's question is, I don't see any way out of this place. In this whole universe, I don't see any way out. So, even a person who is trying to do something good, no, even for him, the urge to commit sin is somehow or other, as if by force, he is committing sin. So, as if by force, he is doing wrong things. So, there is no point. I am not able to see any point. Further? So, there seems no way. So, based on one's inclination, one must commit impious activities and one must go to hell. And it is very, very difficult to avoid. Right? It is very difficult to avoid. So, in fact, this one, Parikshit, in the case of Ajamil's case also, when there is discussion, when there is Yamadutas and Vishnudutas, when they are discussing, so there is, what is that? The Vishnudutas ask the Yamadutas, like, what is Dharma? And who all are supposed to be punished? And finally, Yamadutas actually they give very wonderful description of what is scriptures, what is Dharma, and finally they tell that every single person in this universe is forcibly committing sinful activities and nobody is exempted from us. So practically like, everybody are our prisoners. So, Yamadutas actually give that kind of conclusion. So it is very difficult to avoid committing sinful activities. No, we are forced to commit sinful activities, right? So, further. So, this is just a prelude for the first two paragraphs that we are going to discuss today. So, now we are going to see the first two paragraphs of Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, how many of you have got a Nectar of Instruction book with you? No, here. At least in mobile. Mobile it's there, no? Okay. Anybody don't have access to the book? Okay. Maybe two devotees can share one mobile and Mataji's side you can give one. This Mataji has one. Maybe one more mobile you can give to another two Matajis. So, can I have my mobile also? Mine. So in this, if you see, somebody can read this first translation and then translation. Can you read?
A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger and the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Okay. So, first paragraph, the purport.
In Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.9 to 10, Parikshit Maharaj placed a number of intelligent questions before Sukadeva Goswami. One of these questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? For instance, a thief may perfectly know well that he may be arrested for his stealing, and he may actually even see a thief arrested by the police. Yet he continues to steal. Experience is gathered by hearing and seeing. One who is less intelligent gathers experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent gathers experience by hearing. When an unintelligent person hears from the law books and shastras or scriptures that stealing is not good, and hears that a thief is punished when arrested, he refrains from the theft. A less intelligent person may first have to be arrested and punished for stealing to learn to stop stealing. However, a rascal, a foolish man, may have the experience of both hearing and seeing and may even be punished, but still he continues to steal. Even if such a person atones and is punished by the government, he will again commit theft as soon as he comes out of jail. If punishment is jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement?
Okay, so we'll stop till here. So you can go further in the slide. So here we see that there is an example of a thief is given, right? So in this, what are the different things which are mentioned? So ways of experience that is mentioned. So one is learning by seeing and learning by hearing. So these two things are mentioned. And less intelligent person, he gathers experience by seeing or practically getting experienced. So either he sees a thief getting punished, he becomes fearful. In some countries, they make public punishments, right? So to strike fear in the heart of people. So if somebody does any mistake, publicly he is given punishment, right? So then by seeing other thief getting punished or getting punished himself. And more intelligent person, he gathers experience by hearing, right? Hearing from scriptures. And a rascal, he continues to steal even after punishment is offered. No, even after atonement, he continues, right? So this is compared with elephant taking bath. So these are the different things which are given in this particular purport. Go further. So now we see some portion of application in our life, like how we can actually take it forward. So we have a wonderful opportunity to hear from scriptures, but if we lose the habit of regular reading and hearing, we may also have to act on the level of less intelligent. So what is the quality of the less intelligent person here? So one is that he has not, either he has heard and he is not able to act, or he has not heard only. No, a person who don't have the knowledge, he cannot act on that platform, right? So now there is a question, is it not sufficient to read and hear till we understand the philosophy? Why should I read and hear throughout my life? It's a class discussion. We can, wherever it's homework, like I would have written homework over there. So this question, any answer for this question? So anybody who comes to ISKCON in 6 months, he gets to know about all the philosophy. After that, why should I read lifelong, every day? Okay, fine. 1 year you take or 2 years you take.
Because every time you read Bhagavad Gita, you get a different understanding and deeper understanding.
Okay.
The realization and maturity of the person as it grows, the interpretation of what he understands also changes and improves.
Understanding is about interpretation. That's understanding. Then understanding will change. Like deeper and deeper. Every time you cross to Bhagavad Gita, you get a same shloka.
No, that is realization is getting more stronger and stronger. Understanding is same. So, like, for example, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, this statement, faith will increase, the realization of that particular aspect will increase. So, when I was telling before, in the day one, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, okay, no, some ruler is there, no, this guy is also there, let him rule. So, you don't have much this one. So, then after that, after some time, like, our faith gets little more increased. So this is only about aspect of faith. And faith, how will you get faith? Huh? Okay. Any moola karana of faith? What is the root cause of faith? So it is mentioned that in the scriptures, mercy of the Lord is the root cause of the faith. You can do sadhana, you can do so many other things, but the Lord has to be pleased by that and He has to bestow mercy upon us, then faith increases. So without the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one's faith cannot increase. Right? So one faith in scriptures, one faith in the words of the scriptures cannot increase. So the knowledge remains the same, only I have to get the mercy of the Lord. Right? So now, one of the aspects which I was very much wanted to focus in this particular question is that so we cannot just read for some time and then expect to have that in our consciousness for all the time. So Maya is constantly attacking us, convincing us, saying that material world is so nice, material enjoyment is so nice. Why don't you enjoy this? Why don't you enjoy this? Why don't you enjoy this? And we have to constantly read Srila Prabhupada's books so that we get convinced that to say no to the material energy is very, very difficult. So if you have to say no to the material energy, we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And our condition, how the condition is like, we are eating something and it is not, according to somebody's opinion, it is not very sweet. Right? So we are eating some food stuff, according to somebody's opinion, it is not very sweet. And they are telling, you should give up this particular food stuff completely, then I will give you the actual sweet. So I have not tasted actual sweet. And I'm having, I'm having something in my hand to eat, and they are telling that you give it up completely. Then I will give you. And our condition is like that. Sometimes we get a little bit of glimpse of what is Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we would have tasted, but most of the times we are expected to practice anticipating a very wonderful future, right? So in that condition, reading is very, very important. So, we talk about Krishna consciousness is so wonderful, spiritual world is so amazing. How many of you have experience of it? No, you don't have experience of it. It is only by reading. It is only by reading that we are having this, and the trust and faith in the words of Acharyas. So now, for example, Prabhupada gives the example of somebody tells you, you buy this ticket, you will be taken to America. So have you gone to America before and seen? No. You put faith in that person and you buy that ticket and then you board the flight with that faith. Only it realizes, when you actually go to the destination, so it actually gets realized. Till the time, what is driving? Only faith. Till the time I have faith that I am going, so many people have already gone and I have got information from them, so I am having that faith. Right? So it is not sufficient that we just read philosophy for initial few days and then leave it. So, Maya is very strong, and then another aspect is we want the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord says you must do Shravanam. So, when the Lord says you must do Shravanam, we should do, and when the Lord is pleased by that, He bestows mercy and the faith increases in the heart of a devotee. So what is the conclusion? What we should do, when we should read philosophy and how much we should read philosophy or scriptures? Constantly means? After that we can leave. Okay. So practical terms. Nityam means every second, every minute, or every hour, or every day. What does it mean? This is the application slide.
Daily morning.
Daily morning. Yeah, daily. We should do Shravanam Kirtanam every day. So if we don't do Shravanam Kirtanam every day, what will happen? It is a very dangerous test, but you can try. If you are daring. If you stop Shravanam Kirtanam for 1 day or 2-3 days or for a week, then you will see your material desires will increase. All sort of, I want to progress in my career, I want to become like this, all these things will start increasing. So, but if you do regular Shravanam and Kirtanam, you will develop Jnanam cha Vairagam, so that both the things like Vairagya and the knowledge, these two things will increase. So this is the test of proper development of bhakti. So otherwise, we get so much of ideas of how to progress in this material world. Right? This is a practical test, but it is very dangerous to take this test. Sometimes it is difficult to come back. So, okay, what is the benefit of daily habit of reading and hearing? What do we get by daily reading and hearing?
We'll get more taste.
Okay, knowledge. Then?
We develop taste for hearing.
Yeah, we develop taste for reading and hearing. See, the regulative principles are of two forms. One is, there are things which we are very much attached to, but it is not very healthy for us. So, that is regulated. And there are things which are very, very good for us, and we are not attached to it. So, these are the two things which are regulated, right? So, we are attached to breaking 4 regulative principles, so that there is regulation is there over there. Yeah, that's why there is a regulation there. Yeah, we are naturally attached to breaking 4 regulative principles, right? So, that is a different subject matter altogether. Even grossly we are following the 4 regulative principles, but in subtle way, every day we are breaking 4 regulative principles, right? So, to practice the 4 regulative principles with full perfection is actually very, very difficult, right? So, the things which we are supposed to be attached to, which is very good to us, like hearing about the Lord, the Navavida Bhakti, so Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So these things, if it is left just like that, we will not practice. So that's why there is regulation there. 16 rounds we have to chant, and we have to read and hear every day about the glories of the Lord, and then we have to do Archana, we have to do Vandana. All these things are regulated. We do a regulated practice. Every day morning deity worship is there, and every day we have to hear, read, chant, and then we have to preach. So all these things is kind of a regulation. So we are in a regulated way, we are engaging in devotional service. So naturally we don't have attraction to it, and doing it day after day after day, we develop a taste for it, right? So in that way we get attached to it. So we get a taste. And then, is there anything that I should do over and above reading and hearing in the matter of philosophy? Sharing it with others, and also implementation in our own lives. So every time when I read, so I should read saying that, okay, this Prabhupada is speaking to me, so it is for me to implement. So one very important thing about reading and hearing is that all the rules and regulations which are mentioned in the scriptures are meant only for me and not for others. Right? So this is a very important principle. All the rules and regulations which are mentioned in the scriptures are meant only for me and not for others. So for others, there is different this one. Right? So always scriptures talk about these two different ways of seeing things. No, I see myself as, if I commit a mistake, I see myself. How should I see myself? If I commit a mistake, how should I see myself? Yeah, I am such a sinful person. No, I did such a bad thing. So I should be punished, and that kind of mood and mentality one should have. And if somebody else commits a mistake, how should he see? Apishetsu duracharo. So, it is matter of time. Like he is practicing devotional service, it's matter of time. All these things will go off. Still he should be respected as sadhu. Right? So, these are the two viewpoints that we should very strongly take. 180 degree opposite, yeah. Meant only for others, not for me. So, here in this application we can see that what was the purport that we read about experience, right? Experience we get by seeing and hearing. So, hearing experience is much better. A person who is matured in his intelligence, just by hearing, he will understand. So, in that also two things we saw. One is that even after hearing, he is not having sufficient control or maturity to just follow. So, or the other aspect is he has not heard only. So, if he has not heard only, then there is no point, there is no way that he can actually implement that in his life. So now we have got the opportunity to hear and read, so we should take that very nicely, and we should do a daily practice of reading and hearing. Okay, little not off topic, a very important topic. Hearing, what we should do, what we should hear every day. Okay. Okay, hearing from spiritual master. So anything else we have to hear?
Topics related to Lord from Parampara.
Okay. Huh? Okay. Now, more specifically, whose lectures we must hear?
Mostly Guru. Should be Guru. First, nowadays it's our Prabhu also.
Yeah. So one should hear sufficiently from Srila Prabhupada and know sufficiently from one spiritual master. So these two things are very, very important. So many times I see people like they can hear other people also. So but this one devotee very nicely explained this thing. So when you have your meal, how much of chutney you will take? How much of pickle you will take? 10%. 10% is also very high actually. No? So that is the position of hearing from others. Right? So one should hear from one spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. So these two things are our main course. Rice dal sabji. No, rice dal. No? Or roti. So that is like that. So one should hear from Srila Prabhupada and spiritual master. Why it is so important to hear from them only? So many people are giving so wonderful lectures. So why we should hear from them only?
We should know the mood of our Guru so that we can serve him.
The most important aspect is I want to serve and please my spiritual master, and for that I need to know what he wants. So if I don't know what he wants, if I don't know what is his mood, how will I be able to serve him in a nice way?
That's the next stage of consciousness. Before that, what I was hearing from many people, there are different ways people, devotees explain same point in different contexts.
And they get confused. Yeah.
We will not follow any of it. So it's better to stick to one.
Yeah.
And definitely, Prabhupada disciple repeat what Prabhupada told. But we should stick to the context, and in our individual case, Guru, what the Guru is telling, we should try to understand the mood of Guru. We have to come back to that.
Yeah.
So here to more people leads to more confusion.
Yeah. So this is an important thing. All of us can try to implement this particular thing. Hearing from Srila Prabhupada and hearing from one spiritual master. So these two things are the important ingredients of Shravanam. So every day is Shravanam. Or you can make a weekly plan. So I'll hear so many hours of Prabhupada and I'll hear so many hours of my spiritual master. Or if any other personality is there, like you can have no defined schedule. So but Srila Prabhupada and spiritual master becomes the very important major portion of the hearing. Right? So any questions in this one before we proceed to the next part?
Here also, we should primarily focus on hearing Prabhupada first.
Yeah.
So we hear more of Prabhupada. Definitely, our Guru will repeat what Prabhupada, but primarily because Prabhupada is the source of all knowledge for us.
Yeah.
So if you understand, if you hear Prabhupada properly, more proportion should be like more of Prabhupada.
Actually, once my spiritual master told that or one of his senior disciples told, if you hear Prabhupada sufficiently, then you will understand how your spiritual master is acting to please your Srila Prabhupada. So that's very important point. Like how will you judge, or how will you get inspiration from your spiritual master? So you will get inspiration from your spiritual master saying how he is surrendered to his spiritual master. And to understand that, you also need to know what is the Founder Acharya's principles. What is the principle set by Founder Acharya? What is the teachings of Founder Acharya? So when I understand the teachings of Founder Acharya, then I can see my own spiritual master, how nicely he is trying to follow, the principles set by the Founder Acharya, and how I can surrender to such a personality. So all these things very, very interconnected, very interlinked, very important subject, right? So we can go to the next slide. So I think we will not have sufficient time to read through the purport. It's a very small section I have taken, only first 2 paragraphs. So I'll just kind of read these sloka. Here very nice slokas mentioned from Srimad Bhagavatam. Drishta shrutabhyam yat papam jnanan api atmanohitam karoti bhuyo vivasaha prayaschittam atokatam kvachin nivartate badrat kvachit charati tat punaha prayaschittam atopatam manye kunjara sauchavat. So here Parikshit Maharaj is comparing this particular atonement, the process of atonement, to be like the bathing of elephant. So elephant goes inside the water, nicely bathes, and then comes out and puts on the mud on top of his body. So now, committing sin, here Prabhupada is concentrating on the next portion of the purport, on these particular set of points. So one is committing sin, thinking of counteracting them by chanting Hare Krishna. And he also talks about Christians go and confess to wipe their sins. And then he talks about there is no change of heart even after doing this. So they are just like this elephant, they go, they clear their sins and again put mud on top of their body. So, and Parikshit Maharaj condemns such kind of an atonement. No, he says, what is the point of such atonement? They are again and again committing sin and they are again and again suffering. So what is the point of this atonement? So you are removing this sin. So again they come out, like Prabhupada gives this example of people go to Ganga, they take bath, so they clear all their sins. The moment they come out, they smoke bidi, they do this, they do that, and all sort of sinful activities have started. So then what is the point of taking bath in Ganga, right? And then Sukadeva Goswami, who's the spiritual master of very intelligent king, he also approves this and then he condemns. And he makes a point, like Prabhupada actually makes a point saying, a sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. So even if you find a methodology to remove a particular portion of sin, what happens is you only remove that sin, but the sinful tendency, the tendency to commit more and more sin is still there in the heart. So anyway, I am going to commit more sin. So it is just like for a beggar, if you give one-time food, what is the benefit? Again, tomorrow he will be begging. Again, tomorrow he will not have any food, right? So in the same way, here this particular things are mentioned. Specifically, Prabhupada quotes this particular offense. One of the 10 offenses, Namno Balad Yashahi Papa Buddhi. That means committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So this is the subject matter which is discussing in this particular purport. So now we'll go to the application point. So have you ever committed a mistake knowing that it is a mistake? You can raise hands. Have you ever committed a mistake knowing that it is a mistake? Okay. So if no, it was excellent, but it is practically not possible. So if yes, kindly quote from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam why such a thing happens. Why such a thing happens? Even after knowing that it is a mistake, why do I commit a particular activity? And then, is there some example of such thing happening? So both from scriptures, not from practical life. Yeah. So that one you can do it as homework, right? So you can maybe you can mail or you can update in any way. So then this is like we are forced to commit sinful activities. Like that's the point of Parikshit Maharaj. What is the point of this atonement? Everybody, even after knowing, even after having the knowledge that it is wrong, still people are committing mistake. So there is no point. I am not able to see any point in this atonement. So it is not making the life better anymore. So it is the same worst condition. So I am not able to see any good thing over here. Next. So now, real atonement. Prabhupada also talks about real atonement. And then he talks about real atonement involves coming to real knowledge. And he gives two important subdivisions in that. One, he gives tapasya, and another he gives association of pure devotees. Okay. So since we have not read the purport, so I'll just give a question to guess. Which is more powerful in these two things? Huh? So two, association of pure devotees. There is one very nice sloka is there, tapasya tatakim something. Like, what is it? Huh? Tapasya, like, what is that? It mentions that, if you want to please the Lord, right? So, if the Lord is pleased, then what is the use of tapasya? And if Lord is not pleased, what is the use of tapasya? Right? So it's a very sarcastic sloka actually. So I'm not able to remember that particular sloka. Mamaniku, you know that sloka? Na aradito ayadi hari tapasya tatakim. And then? Can you give the meaning? Use of tapasya.
And if somebody is doing a lot of austerities, but he doesn't have any devotion, so all his austerities go to him. And if somebody can see the Lord always inside and every day, everywhere, then for him also there is no tapasya. But if somebody can't see that Lord is present in every day, so for him also.
What is the point of tapasya? So, like, ultimate goal is the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. I have to please the Supreme Lord. If Lord is already pleased, then what is the point of tapasya? There is no point in tapasya. And if I am doing so many tapasya, and if I am not able to please the Lord, what is the point of tapasya? Right? So it's a very sarcastic sloka, very nice sloka. No, it has a very deep meaning. So now, what is the position of tapasya in Krishna consciousness? You can go to the next slide. So when one follows a regulated hygienic process, he does not fall sick. That's a statement Prabhupada gives in the purport. So he says that if you have a regulated diet, a regulated way of sleeping and getting up and things like that, so you can maintain your health very nicely. So now, and Prabhupada lists all these things in the purport as part of tapasya. So celibacy, mind control, sense control, charity, being truthful, cleanliness and practice of yogasanas, all these things, Prabhupada lists down as tapasya. Right? So now, what is the position of tapasya in Krishna consciousness? Should we at all follow this or not? Okay. So you should follow this. What is the position of this tapasya? What function it performs in our Krishna consciousness? Okay. Truthfulness. Do's are also there.
More restrictions.
Okay. So what does how it helps us in our Krishna consciousness? Can it give Krishna consciousness? Can it give Krishna prem? All these activities? Okay.
For you to do the things, give you the Krishna prema, this is the minimum thing that you should follow. Which means, the example is, you want to do service. Without having good health and having this process, you can't do service. So, if you don't do tapasya, you can't go to the next stage.
Okay. Any other explanation?
It helps us to be focused on service, and otherwise there will be a lot of distractions due to our mind and so many things.
So actually this acts like a fence. Okay. So these tapashyas, they act like a fence. So we can work within a domain very neatly. So if there is no fence, if it is scattered, so it is very difficult for us to actually execute Krishna consciousness. So this makes the mind peaceful. This makes these tapashyas are meant to settle down the mind actually. Settle down the mind, and I don't have too many options. No, I don't have too many options to do too many things. So I have only this number of options. So the mind, if you give too many number of options, what it will do? It will be like choosing between that, here, there. So one of the aspects of tapasya is that we are telling the mind that early in the morning in Brahma Muhurta time, you have to get up. No, the time is fixed. So the mind cannot say, no, can I do this, can I do that, can I do nothing doing, this all, right? So and after that, you have to chant 16 rounds, you have to, you have to read here, and then you have to go to your office, then come back, and then, prepare for preaching program, this, that. The whole time is completely occupied. No chance for mind to say, can I do this, can I do that, nothing. Right? So everything is completely fixed. Right? So this kind of a regulated life and a life of tapasya is very, very important. The more we give options to the mind, if I have a lot of free time, that's the most dangerous time actually. So free time means dangerous time for devotees. Right? So we should have plan and we should completely occupy our time, completely engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness. So then what happens? Then there is no possibility of Maya attacking us. Right? So this tapasya, how it helps us? It helps us like a fence.
I want to if we see the mode of goodness and passion, this develops, this tapasya develops mode of goodness.
Yeah.
The goodness gives more opportunity to do devotional service.
Yeah.
So that we can develop Krishna prema.
Yeah. It's a very good platform where we can practice devotional service. So this tapasya creates a very good platform. Okay, next slide. So next is attaining real knowledge by association of pure devotees. First we saw tapasya and second is association with pure devotees. So Prabhupada writes these lines in the purport. If one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by mystic yoga process. That means Prabhupada is telling, one is fortunate enough to get the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. He surpasses all the aspects of tapasya. He gets the benefit of performing all these tapasyas also. So, and Prabhupada mentions easy process recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. The second paragraph finishes with this. He says, 4 regulative principles, following 4 regulative principles, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Right? So he tells these 2 aspects as the easy process of achieving the mercy of a pure devotee. So at least if we do these 2 things, what will happen? We get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Now Prabhupada is writing, if you want to please me, you can do this. So Prabhupada is telling, if you are fortunate enough to get association of pure devotee or get the mercy of pure devotee, you can actually surpass a lot of things. And he is telling, Prabhupada is so merciful. He is a pure devotee of the Lord and he is giving a set of instructions. By following that, you can actually get mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Right? So he is mentioning following 4 regulative principles and rendering devotional service to the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So this second aspect is very, very important thing. 4 regulative principles maximum, we, at least externally, we try to follow. And this one, the executing devotional service, it's a very, very subjective thing. So what comprises devotional service? What all activities can be called as devotional service?
All the 9 processes.
Okay.
1.
Practical life, practical life?
Serving the temple.
Serving the temple. Preaching. A devotional service. Right. So now, what qualifies a particular activity as devotional service? Okay, consciousness with which I am doing. Then? Okay, again we'll revisit the definition of devotional service. What is the definition of devotional service? Rupa Goswami's definition from Nectar of Devotion. Jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam. That means that which can give pleasure to Krishna. Right? So that becomes devotional service. Any activity, so seemingly it may be a devotional activity. Maybe chanting, is it devotional activity or not? Right? It's devotional activity. Now the spiritual master is telling, you chant 16 rounds and then do this particular service. And I tell that, no, I should chant 64 rounds today. So is it a devotional service? It cannot be a devotional service. Because it is not meant to please the spiritual master. It is not meant to please Guru and Krishna. So then it becomes this one. Even Shishupal was chanting the name of Krishna every time. No, was it devotional service? No, it is not devotional service. Right? Even Kamsa was chanting the names of Krishna. Right? So it is not devotional service. Right? So devotional service means the essential ingredient of devotional service is it is meant to please Guru and Krishna, or it is meant to please a Vaishnava. So then it carries the tag of devotional service. Otherwise, it is some pious activity. You chant 64 rounds, no problem. Right? It's pious activity, right? So if it is pleasing, if my spiritual master is saying that okay, no, you chant 64 rounds. So then, okay, then for the pleasure of my spiritual master, I try to do that particular thing. Then it becomes devotional service, right? So all my authorities are saying, you do this thing, this particular thing today. So and I take it, okay, for the pleasure of this devotee, let me try to execute this. Then it becomes devotional service, right? So it's always very important. Like the root cause of us coming to this material world is disobedience to the Supreme Lord. And the solution to go back to the spiritual world is obedience. No, I have to accept a spiritual master, or I have to act to please a Vaishnava. So when I try to act to please a Vaishnava, then that becomes the path back to the spiritual world, right? So that's a very important aspect. So here Prabhupada is mentioning, by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. So these two things, following regulative principles and engaged in the service according to the direction of spiritual master, he is telling that the easiest process given by Srila Rupa Goswami to go back or to achieve the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. Right? So next slide. So now there is an application point from here. The 2 class discussions are there and 1 homework. So we also have to execute tapasya, but how should we view tapasya in relation to the instruction given by the pure devotee spiritual master? So that we saw already, we discussed, tapasya is like a fence. And if a pure devotee gives an instruction, so which is contradicting with this tapasya, so then I must take the instruction as the most important thing. Like for example, sometimes during the initial days of ISKCON, during the marathon and during very important preaching programs, late night lectures and all goes on, or some late night book distribution goes on. There is some fair, like overnight it is there. So if a devotee goes and says, no, this night time is mode of ignorance, I will not do this particular activity. Mode of goodness, I should act on mode of goodness. No, here the instruction of spiritual master takes more precedence. Why? No, if I can please the spiritual master, and if he bestows his mercy upon me, what is this mode of goodness? I will simply get established in mode of goodness. Why should I practice so much hard? So I don't need to, right? So when there is an instruction of spiritual master, it takes more higher precedence, right? It takes more higher precedence. So another class discussion that also we'll do, how I can understand what my spiritual master wants me to do. In the practical scenario of ISKCON, where the spiritual master is traveling and not always we get the association of the spiritual master, and not too many people have the opulence of getting guided day to day. Okay, today you do this, today you do this, like that. So we have general instructions and we have other things. So how to understand what if I do, my spiritual master will become pleased with me? So can give some points. Okay. So working under the guidance of senior God brothers, that's good. Then
he has assigned piece of activity. So if it is properly not done or executed, so then it may not be ready. So just first of all, exactly.
yeah, you have to understand.
So you hear him alone.
Yeah, that's most important. We have to hear. No, we have to hear. So one devotee, he gave a very nice definition. When I am trying to follow even the minutest instruction given by the spiritual master, then I can understand that, I am pleasing my spiritual master. So I am not neglecting even a small instruction, even a small teaching given by my spiritual master. I am not neglecting that. I am trying to follow that. So then we can actually understand more and more. So the mood of the spiritual master. So for example, Srila Prabhupada, he got association only few number of times. But he was so confident. Sometimes he used to very, very forcefully he used to say, no, I am pleasing my spiritual master. No, I am like, my spiritual master is always with me. My spiritual master is guiding me at every step. So it is practical this one. Like he has imbibed the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Right? So like when we hear and read from the teachings of the spiritual master, so then what happens? We get imbibed. The mood of the spiritual master we imbibe, right? So then after that, when we act, and still we need guidance, still we need protection. We need some senior authorities above us who can actually correct us, saying, no, this is not the mood of spiritual master. This is how. If you do like this, he would be more pleased. So that fine tuning and things like that is very important. But this particular aspect of how, like a devotee, one more important thing, a devotee can have a kind of craving in the heart. So am I pleasing my spiritual master? So will my spiritual master be pleased with this kind of activity? So I should always think about that. I should always pray for that. I should always meditate about that. So when I do that, so then Krishna will make sure that I do things which are pleasing to my spiritual master. Whatever I desire, Krishna will execute. I am not in capacity to execute. My execution capacity is with Krishna. So I should have the right desires. So if I have the right desire of, how can I please my spiritual master? Krishna will make sure that you are pleasing your spiritual master. Right? So if I don't have that kind of mood, so then, it is difficult. Like, just by some inky pinky ponky that, I do some activity and spiritual master becomes pleased. It doesn't happen like that. So one should have that desire in the heart. I should please my spiritual master. So then it happens. Then actually I do something to please my spiritual master. Okay. So now, right, homework. Go back. Okay. How are you planning to implement or already implementing this easy process given by Srila Rupa Goswami? So it's a very nice this one to contemplate, like how I am planning to implement this easy process, that is following 4 regulative principles and getting engaging in devotional service to the Supreme Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master.
Easy process.
Prabhupada says it is easy process. Okay, external aspect of 4 regulative principles, not the internal aspect. The internal aspect is very difficult. In the lifetime, if we can achieve it, is great. So, but at least the external aspect of 4 regulative principles and this one, what is that? Being engaged in the service of the Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. So, how I am planning to, or how I am already implementing. Or sometimes both the things you can write. Already what I am implementing in this line and how I am planning to improve that in future. Right? So these 2 things. It's a personal meditation. You can actually meditate and then you can write these points. So how to establish, how to be in the Krishna consciousness more soundly and strongly. Right? It helps us a lot. Right? So any questions overall in these 2 paragraphs? Kindly read these 2 paragraphs, and next session would be the first, this one, that is Vachaveham. So the whole section Prabhupada discusses about that particular thing. Maybe Prabhuji wants to take 1 or 2 archas together. Like next class will be taken by Shyam Prabhu. Next week there is no class because both of us are traveling. So week next to that, Shyam Prabhu will be taking on this topic of Vachaveham, right? So you can read that portion also and come, and then if you have any other questions, you can put forward. What are the 2 homework questions that we have?
One is to study your shloka which
Yeah. Even after knowing, I am forced to commit sin. So, like forced to commit mistake. Why is it so? And do we have an example of this, from the scriptures? Right? So that is the first question. And second question is, how are we planning to implement this easy process? It's easy process.
Better describe in the class, so better to elaborate the easy process, practice, regularly principles, like what? Following the scripture.
Yeah. Easy process. Prabhupada says easy process.
Put the whole world in it. The whole world. The whole lifestyle process.
Okay. Next week, from Marthali congregation, we are going to Melkote. So that's why I will not be there. And Shampunpu would have not returned from Dwarka Yatra. So, like next week, there is a gap. So this particular session helped me also a lot. These 2 paragraphs I read over and over and over again and again for maybe some 4 or 5 hours. It helped a lot. Even for me.
Why taken as atonement starts with regulation? Starts with regulation. And why do you take the topic as atonement?
Because here the Prabhupada concentrates on this atonement a lot in this one, and then he talks about real atonement. Real atonement is to please the Supreme Lord. When you please the Supreme Lord, all other things are taken care of.
Prabhupada speaks about atonement more in the Bible.
Yeah. See, okay, one nice interesting question. This Vacha Veham, Manasa Veham, Krodha Veham, all these things. Can we practice these things? How to achieve these things? By practice of it, we will achieve.
Control it. Talk more about Krishna. Jiva, eat prasad.
So these things you are doing, mechanical adjustment you are doing. By this you can achieve? Huh? So in spiritual life, any achievement, whenever I ask this question of achievement, you should tell only one answer. Huh? Mercy. When you get the mercy of the Lord, that time it will happen. So if you see that somebody is very, very controlled, self-controlled, somebody's mind is very peaceful, somebody is following celibacy very nicely. So what is the meaning of it? He is being bestowed mercy, by the Lord. So that is how we can understand. So for attaining mercy, we are showing our eagerness. I will not do this. I will not indulge in this thing. I will not indulge in this thing. So in this, 2 ways we can do. We can do it saying that, see how strong I am. I am able to control. And another thing is, we can actually say to the Lord, I am trying to control, but it is beyond my capacity. Only if your mercy is there, I will be able to follow. Right? So when I have that second, this one, so actually Lord bestows mercy. Over a period of time, Lord bestows mercy. We cannot also ask the Lord, I have been following so long, why are you not bestowing mercy?
Very nicely, I heard on that. Mercy is getting what you don't deserve.
Yeah. So it's beyond our deservation, right? So, it is completely upon the mercy of the Lord. Whenever He bestows mercy, right? So, that time only we can get all these things. So, these are all the output which are mentioned. Vacha Veham, Manasa Krodha Veham, Jiva Veham, these are all the output which is mentioned. Input is what? Input is what? What input I should give for this? Our endeavor to trying to please Guru and Krishna. So when I try to please Guru and Krishna, and somehow if they bestow mercy upon me, I will get all this output. Right? And in the process, I will also mechanically try to do these things. Mechanically try to adjust these things. But mechanical adjustment will not go for long. So, I must try to act to please Guru and Krishna, and I must get mercy of Guru and Krishna. So then, all these outputs are available for us. We'll be able to display this output. Right? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for taking part in this class. Sorry for my inefficiency and disabilities. No, thank you for tolerating me. Hare Krishna.